we're excited to have a conversation. So don't feel like a rush.
Okay. Well, hello. This is episode number 31 with Truth Be Told podcast. I'm your host, Britt. And today I have a lovely, I'm so excited, y'all. I have Mr. and Mrs. Marisa and Dean. How are you doing today?
Very good. Very good, Brittany. Pleasure to be here.
I'm glad to see you guys. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has. But I did listen to your podcast the other day, and it was great. And I'm very excited that you're doing it. And information is great. I loved listening to the different people. So you're onto something.
I think so.
Well, thank you guys so much. I just want to let the audience know that this is Marisa. She's the one that actually pushed me to start where I'm at. She just said push. She even helped me clear my limits and beliefs. So I'm so thankful for Marisa, and I'm so thankful for letting
It's not me. She just pushes all the time.
No, it's not. Thank you, Brittany. But I do. You know, I listened to you about how you joined the book club and you were ready for it. You had heard Sean, and then I listened to that whole thing, and that was great. You know, you did this because you were ready. You were ready to change.
Right. Yeah.
And it was so funny that you talked about this. Sorry for our dog.
No, it's okay.
That you started talking about this book, because I don't know if you remember in book club, I hated this book.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. But recently, all of a sudden, things started to click because it was with someone else, and I was like, oh, I get the book now. And I started going back and rereading it. So when you said that, I was like, that's so funny that you know the book. Yeah. So I really liked it.
I actually picked this book because I do remember you saying you didn't like it, but
right.
I know you and Dean.
I thought you chose it because you didn't like it. Is that it?
I did it on purpose, Dean. The book we're talking about, guys, this is it's called How We Change by Dr. Ross Ellenhorn. I love this book. I'm not gonna say I love it. I just love, as I read it again, like you said, Marisa, things are starting to click more to me as I grow and go within this growth mindset. So I'm excited about that.
Great.
Dean, what have you been doing, Dean? Have you been have you been behaving?
Well, behaving, that's a big question. I'm not getting into that. I think there's something to be said about the camaraderie we had in the book club.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a key component for me. I need to have, more people in my life.
Right.
And I think this is a common thing, probably for some men.
Mm-hmm.
They spend years sometimes raising their children, from an early age until they hit 16, 17, they begin to go to college.
Right.
And then, you're focused on them so much that you realize, what else do you have going on? And this is particularly true if you're so focused or consumed on starting a business as well. So there really isn't really much else you do. And I'm seeing that now. So I have to probably spend more time exercising,
right.
and also more time in self-discovery, because I think if you're focusing too much on your business, you're just absolutely going to go crazy, Brittany.
Right. You're right. And then you already have the tools. I mean, you were doing it before in the book club. I miss you guys. I miss being around like-minded people.
Me too.
I'm always like, Sean, what are you doing next? I'm not trying to see what you're doing, but I need you to make another book club or do something. Yeah. But I know you always have to change and evolve, so I get that.
I know.
Yeah, me too.
Marisa makes me write my goals every day on a card. Yeah, so I'm like, she's been making me do this. I'm up to day 45, and what you just said is true. I write my goals that my team, the people I surround me, that could be everybody, my family, my children, my relatives, my employees, and so on, the people who are my friends. We enjoy contributing in ways that lift up growth-minded individuals. And that's the that you say when you say like-minded. Is their mind wanting to grow? And that's clearly evident with you. And I would assume other people got it in your podcast so far.
No, yes, I get a lot of book clubbers. because this type of work or inner work mindset, a lot of people are not, it's not nothing that it's common for everybody. I mean, really, I told Sean when I first started, I didn't know what to expect with a book club. I'm like, what are you going to do? Read? Like,
when I listened to that, that was so funny because in the very beginning, he used to read. He would read because
He made you. He would make us read.
right.
He's like, who wants to read this next chapter? And it's like, nobody said, nobody raised their
so he
hands.
would just start reading, and then he would ask. I could see. He didn't know how it was going to go, but then it, got steam and it went head, and then it was great. But when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that's so funny because in the beginning, that's what he would do. He would read.
So it sounds like he challenged the group to like push forward and grow and hold them accountable to make sure that you do the work, because he couldn't do all the work outside of the Zoom call. You have to do the work yourself.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I like that with this book, it also gives you 10 reasons that you don't change. It's something in the book that I want to read to you guys, and then I want both of you guys to answer, because we're talking about how do you change, and some people are like, really, can you really change? But the more I'm around, like I said, these type of people, and just watching my diet, which is more than what I eat, I'm starting to realize, like, hey, you can change. You there's a such thing as a growth and a fixed mindset. So I'm excited. But this is what I'm going to read. So y'all listen. So it says, we all have something we want to change about ourselves, but whether it's quitting smoking, losing weight, large issues like developing more meaning and purpose in our lives. We feel a sense of failure when we don't succeed. This often sets off negative feelings, discouragement, and it makes it hard to change. The voice in your head tells you why. Tells us why bother. So my question to you guys is, why do you bother?
You need to have a reason why, for sure. In anything that you're trying to achieve. So whatever that goal is, like you said, quitting smoking, a better relationship, success in your business, dealing with whatever you're faced in life, you have to have a reason why. And it's like your purpose, right? Knowing what your purpose is, because it'll be difficult no matter what along the way, because all change is difficult. And that reason why you're doing it has to be strong enough to overcome that difficulty, that challenge. I think it's better to ask, also, not better, but I think that's important to know your why, certainly. But I think it's important to recognize that your mind, because it's, its whole job is to protect us, protect it, right? Don't do that. You're gonna get laughed at, and that'll feel bad. Our mind is so insidious in that it can make us feel like, why bother? It's so difficult, and it's not worth it. And it will make us, it'll convince us
it will
not to do it. And we're like, yeah, you're right. But because it's our mind, and that's the beauty of the mind. So you should recognize that that's what it's doing. Love your mind for telling you no, but tell your mind, I'm not going to do it. Thank you very much. It's like J-Lo when she said, I want to thank all the people who said I couldn't do it. I want to thank all the people who said to my face and behind my back that I wasn't good enough. I want to thank you. Do you remember she said that recently in one of the awards?
Right.
That's what you got to do. Thank you, mind, for telling me I can't do it, but that's just going to make me want to do it more.
Right. It depends on where you are. When you think of that question, Marisa, what comes to mind for you?
So I do think it is part of your why, but so this was my issue with the book, because I love to change. I never not want to change. I want to change all the time. But then when I started seeing it with other people, and then I actually saw it with myself where I don't change. I think the good reason to do it is because it makes you more fulfilled. And I think it's not just happiness. For me, it's fulfillment. Because when you feel fulfilled, you feel alive, you feel purposeful, you feel like you're getting the things that you really feel like you were put here to make an impact on. So that's, for me, that's kind of my why. That's evolution. Like I want to be better. I don't want to be the person that's not achieving the things that I want to do. So whatever they may be. But now I lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was going to say. What was I going to say? I can't remember.
So the reason you have to have your why,
right?
But you were talking about some of the reasons why you didn't like this book until you recognize that, it's some of the reasons why you don't change.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, because I was reading that.
That's why I say you don't like the book. See how the brain is? You don't like this book.
It's true. I think that's
down. It's not good. True. Don't read this book. See how the brain is? And then she was like, fuck you, brain.
I was like, and I was like, I love it. Because I think the part where he talks about having like these big goals, right? Mm-hmm. But the insult of the small steps, all of a sudden there was a little light bulb, and I was like, oh, that's me. So I was like, oh my God, I think that so
you can make small steps, and our brain, I don't mean to say how insidious it is, it really wants to just protect us.
Right.
And it will say, oh, look, why bother making those small steps? It makes you feel bad. It makes you feel guilty. I remember guilt was a key point to this book. Mm-hmm. And that guilt and remorse and shame figure prominently in the reasons why we convince ourselves, our brain convinces us not to change.
Right. And sometimes it's like we're standing in the gap, and it's that restraint force that we're dealing with, like where we're at and where we want to be. And if you don't recognize that, then you can definitely spiral into a negative way, because you don't understand what the brain is doing. Like you said, Dean, is there to protect us as well. And that's fear. When it comes to marriage life, how have you changed since you first said I do? Ooh. And then how do you struggle with some of the things that you haven't changed with?
Oh boy, did we change.
Marriage is hard work.
It is hard.
And you have to make it work, you do have to change.
Right. And, I'm asking y'all because I'm a newlywed, and I know y'all been married for some time, and y'all have a little bit of wisdom, not a little bit, a lot. And I remember a lot of talking to Marissa and just being real. Dean's gonna tell it like it is. So that's why I asked you that question.
There you go. And in marriage, I tell it like it is. I'm like, what? What do we do? I think you got to communicate.
Right.
Absolutely begins with the ability and willingness to, and even remind yourself to communicate and to talk to the other person.
And collaborate.
Yeah, because sometimes you begin to make an assumption.
Yeah, assumptions.
They know what you're thinking. Yeah, you gotta
just the worst.
You gotta really just be able to talk, and then also, it's a two-way street. My wife says all the time, you gotta listen.
It's a two-way.
It's two-way.
Two-way.
Conversations are two-way.
My mom's always telling me, Dean, she just tells me to shut up. She's like, Brittany, just shut up. Because I talk too much sometimes. My foot gets.
You know what? I think you're pretty good. Sometimes I like my mother-in-law to say shut up sometimes.
When it comes to you, Marissa, what do you think of, as far as how have you changed since you guys first said I do? And what are some things that you still stay the same as that you want to change?
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're okay.
But I was like, yes, I have changed. You know what? I think when I came into the marriage, I definitely had certain guidelines or beliefs of what I thought should be, and I didn't want to budge on some of my beliefs. But I definitely have. I didn't like order at all. I was never on time. I didn't like order. I didn't like a plan. And throughout time, I kind of learned that I gained certain things from Dean that made me more organized, and I understood the reason for it and how it can make your life better. So, but it took a long time. It took us, there was like a lot of love there, but there was a lot of different ideas. So Dean comes from a family that's very regimented, and I came from a chaotic family. So we both kind of little by little understood that we both had to give a little. And I think it ended up in a much better place. And even though I still have a problem with planning, but I am better than I used to be, definitely better than I used to be. And I definitely have a more open mind, and I'm willing to listen out to some ideas and try and be better in that way. I would say that's true. And I would say that's true of you too. Definitely.
Yeah. So the communication is really important, and it's got to be two-way. But what makes it work is the second, you got to communicate, but you also have to trust.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes what people are going to say to you is, again, it's going to hurt. Or you have these mechanisms that are set up in your brain to say, oh, that's bad, what they're telling you.
Right.
Don't do what they're saying. Don't plan more. Planning is bad.
It's true. That's true. Because you grow up a certain way, and then you're like, it's trying to control me.
Yeah, so fuck that. I'm not gonna fucking do what you want me to do, whatever it is. So you gotta trust. You're gonna say, like, I'm saying this because I love you.
Right.
We need to make a reservation tonight for dinner. Plan out that, budget.
Or be flexible if things don't go according to plan, to be okay with it too. Like not to get, angry about it or freaked out about it. So
yeah, that's my issue. I think I should, because I come from the extreme. Right. So there was a period where I was like, if it didn't work out the way I thought it needed to work out, then I would get depressed. So
how do you deal with that now, Dean? You guys work together, and I know that there are like many hats when you work together because you have to respect each other's role. How do you guys do that as far as with where one's weaker, where stronger, or like with the planning? Like, Marisa, she says she struggles with what mechanism do you use when you're working together?
What do you mean you didn't do that? You didn't plan that? I told you. No, we're doing it. No.
I love it.
Well, it's just the two components. First off, there's nothing inherent about our business or any business, I believe, that would preclude a husband and wife or family member or close friends from working together. Just because, for example, the two of you, like water skiing. That doesn't mean necessarily that you guys would have a great business involving water skiing or something like that. It ultimately rests on the fact that whether you communicate, whether you trust each other. And the other side of it is, if you're trusting, then you can say, you can just let it go. If the other person said something was not cool with you or whatever, you just let that go. You got to let it go. And sometimes it means saying I'm sorry by the other person, or the other person needs to say I'm sorry, whatever it is. You just move past it as quickly as possible. Okay. So if you're communicating, which makes the relationship work, any kind of relationship, a coworker or a husband and wife that are working together, communication, trust, and then let it go as quickly as possible. If you've got those three things, then it doesn't matter what business it is, water skiing, high tech, low tech, you'll get through it. You'll be able to work together.
I love that. I love how you said let it go. Are you good at letting it go, Marisa?
Easy.
Okay.
So easy for me to let it go.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting there, but I'm not completely there yet.
It takes a while.
In your relationship with your
relationship with my husband, like, and just even in general, I think I'm getting better with people outside of my relationship, just because I'm growing and certain things. It's just like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't care. But my husband is a thorn, so he can say something.
He can, like, if there was an issue,
he holds on to
just give the side.
Yeah. He he knows. Well, he doesn't try to push my buttons, but he can hurt my feelings. Anybody else can say it, and it's gonna be like whatever. But if he says it, it just hurts me to the core. I won't let it go, Marissa. I'll hold on to it. I'll be talking about it like 3 days later. Like, you hurt my feelings.
So I think it's good to say that you hurt my feelings, as to communicate, to say what it is. But I think you also have to know it's that assumption thing.
Right.
I don't think when anybody says that, only in like anger, you want to hurt the other person, but that's just an anger. So I always know that's not real. Like, it doesn't matter. But if they say it, they're not intending to hurt your feelings. Maybe it just comes out the wrong way. Maybe it's supposed to be coming out another way, but they didn't mean it that. You never know.
Right.
So and it is a work in progress. It's not perfect. There is no perfect.
There is truth to you communicate. Again, the first component is communicating. It is important to say to you, that hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
But do not wait 3 days to tell him that. Because that's fucked up, right? Just like tell him then, right?
Right.
And then if he doesn't get it, third time, immediately, remember I told you this. And then if it gets to the third time, then you can wait 3 days.
I love slamming doors. When I'm mad, I'm like, boom!
Right.
I'm like saying, I'm mad. And I do tell Dean, I was like, I need like time. So I like need like an hour, 2 hours. I need to go blow off steam. Right. And then I can come back and I'm like, okay, all right. And then this is what you did. I didn't like this. And then he might say, that's not what I meant. I meant this. So it kind of goes.
Yeah, but she's stewing for 3 hours. Can we just?
No, it's not that I'm stewing. It's not that I'm stewing. Productive. It's
we need to make a plan.
I can't
go
turn
it on and turn it off. Sometimes when you're so mad and you're in that moment, I get that part, Marissa. Like, it's just like, give me a moment. Let me just get right. It's just a moment. And then I'll come back and I'm still mad, but I'm okay now. So that brings me to chapter 6. I was gonna this book also talks about 10 reasons why we don't change. Right. In chapter 6, it says no change, no pain. And the three reasons why we don't change, I want to talk about, and I just want to get you guys' opinion on it. The first one is staying the same protects you from your aloneness and accountability. The second one is staying the same protects you from the accountability of what's next. And the third one that we'll briefly discuss is staying the same protects you from the unknown. When you think of those three and reasons why some people don't change, what comes to mind for you, Dean and Marissa?
Well, I'm not going to speak solely for Marissa, but you said it a second ago.
We were going through the book and
feeling uncomfortable. You have to get to the point where you're feeling uncomfortable. And I don't know if that's the same as the first, no pain, no gain, but we all want to have a certain degree of certainty. That's why we don't like change. So success is, in direct proportion of your ability to handle uncertainty. Not knowing where sometimes the money's going to come from, not knowing certain things, but also being uncomfortable, whether it's not knowing and being uncomfortable and not knowing, or being uncomfortable talking with someone on a topic that might seem of conflict with you. And if you don't like conflict, if you try to avoid conflict, you need to change that. You change that by being a little bit more uncomfortable sometimes with the conversations you have with people, even if they have an air of conflict about them.
That's my hardest thing.
So get uncomfortable, it's particularly in the ways you're communicating, because you're going to only build bridges. And if that person can't, meet you halfway, you're going to have to go the whole way.
Right.
And don't worry about it. So sometimes you're going to have to say you're sorry, even if you're not sorry. Right? Maybe the other person can't do that. They can't meet you halfway. And if your reason is worth it, if you know your why, if your why is worthy and that's important, you will go the distance and build that whole bridge and say you're sorry, even if you felt like it wasn't your fault or whatever, or he hurt you. Just say, I'm sorry we ended up like that. You really hurt me. I'm sorry if I made you have to lash out with me that way. But again, put it behind you, build that bridge, and chalk it up as a win in the communication department.
I love that. I love how you keep saying, keep going, keep moving. Just when you're self-aware of these attributes, then you can, like you said, build that bridge and continue to move forward. But for you, Marisa, how do you feel as far as, being alone or holding yourself accountable? And to piggyback off what Dean said.
I love to be alone.
Yeah.
She was not listening. She was reading a book.
No. I was trying to see where the quotes were. It's a book. I know. I listened to him all day, so I thought I knew what he was saying. But no, I was trying to find where the question was, because I was like, what was the question that she said? I didn't remember what it was. But then I got lost in the book. So
see? Brittany, I'm so glad someone is witnessing this.
I love it.
No, I just read something that sounded so that totally, like, I loved what it said, but so this is what I was thinking, and I don't know if this relates to what you just asked, but this was one of the things. But when you do something to improve ourselves, it's like we're caught in the beam of a flashlight, exposed as the living authors of our experience. Once we've uncovered as master of our own fate, the jig is up. And that's kind of like, that's the scary thing. Like, it's that seesaw between, I'm gonna do it, I'm committed, and then, like, when you're really going out there to do those things, like,
you don't know.
Who do I think I am? Whoa, I'm gonna go right back, and we're gonna talk about it, but then I'm not gonna do it, sort of thing. And I think it's just very, very scary. It's and you have to, and then it ties back into some of the other books. I do understand the reasons why we don't change.
Right.
It's very hard to break. It's glitching. Like, you're always glitching. Like, you're always trying to be that other person, and then you go back. And it's kind of like, until you can really elasticize yourself out of there, you're stuck. So
elasticize.
Yeah, like a rubber band.
Like a rubber band, back and forth.
Yeah, back and forth. Like, you can't. So that's the thing for me. And I notice it, like, even in my kids, like some of my kids.
Yeah.
Go, and then they it's almost like they have to go back to who they think they are, their identity. And they can't get out of that rut, that groove that they're in, to jump out of it, sort of thing.
That's so scary that even though Dean was talking and I know you were just doing your thing, it still came all the way back together. As far as it's because you're used to it. I'm sure you can talk to Dean while you're asleep. Like, you can pretty much regurgitate what he's saying.
Sometimes I'm like, what did you say?
When you think of a reason like why people don't change, as far as protecting themselves and not wanting to know the next step and the unknown, how have you overcome that? Because you guys are growing, you guys are doing well, and your family's doing well. How do you overcome that for people who really don't know how to do that?
Well, for a long time, and I still agree with this, but I do feel like you need to understand where it comes from.
That's true.
We in other books we've read together, we've learned about the programming of our parents were very well meaning, but the people around us, that teacher you had that you liked, and then the teacher said, you're not very good at math, but the truth of it is, maybe she didn't really understand what he was saying that day, but you took it to heart, and now you've got a lifelong echo in your head that you're not good at math, and the truth of it is, you probably could be good at math. So I think it's important to know that these limiting beliefs that we have, that our mind uses in these ways to protect us, don't do that math job. Don't do that job where you'll be more math, even if you could possibly make more money. Whatever. Um, it's worthwhile to understand this, that they come from places, but don't make that your badge. Don't be always saying, well, I know now, it was because Miss McGillicuddy said I was not very good at math. And if you keep saying that, well, then you're going to fucking never get out. You're going to break that elastic. You keep going back to it because it's your life story.
Right.
So it's important to understand where it comes from and that it's a programming. And then once you identify it, then wrap it up, put it in a box, and forget about it, and move on. Right?
Right. Move on.
Change the story. Thank you. Change the story. So there are a lot of people who spend a lot of time, whatever method they use, reading books or going to therapy or whatever. They analyze. And I know I did it. I used to analyze. I was like, oh, this is my grandfather said this, my grandma, blah, blah, my father. And it was good for me to know and to learn, but then I had to just move on.
Right.
And so I would encourage that if that's a lesson I can give to anybody. Know that it's programming. Know that it's your brain just trying to protect you. It's what the amygdala, or whatever it is, does.
Mm-hmm.
Own it and then move on. Let it go.
Yeah, I love that. I needed to hear that today. That's why I'm letting you talk, Dean. And I need Marissa's.
I think you're a ringtone with me saying, own it, let it go. Own it, let it go. Own it, let it go.
My dad used to tell me that all the time. I always had a chip on my shoulder. I don't know where I got that from, but he would always say, Brittany, let it go. Let it go.
Probably him, maybe.
Yeah. What about you, Marissa? Do you have any intake? I know Dean said a mouthful. Is there anything that you can say before I let you guys go? Is there anything you can say to my younger girls and even just younger people just trying to grow and empower those women to become whoever they want to be? And how can they change? What can you say today?
Well, okay, so there's so many things, but I'll tell you exactly what I tell my kids. And the one thing that has changed for me a lot is faith. Mm-hmm. Not that I wasn't, I've always believed there's something else, but it wasn't something that I really tapped into as much or really believed that I'm handing it over. I mean, I believe that you're going to help me or that, there's power, that anything can tap into that and you can be able to use that and to have the faith that it's already done. Right. All I have to do is just show up and show up well, but show up. And I think for my kids, I tell them, you do have to own it. Change your story. You can make up any story you want to be, anything. And all you have to decide it, but then you got to put in that work and you got to put in that work and you got to put in that work. Because if you don't put in the work, you don't become the person you need to do to be able to handle that responsibility. Right. And you do have a responsibility. Everybody has a responsibility. Do not let the world go without your gifts in the world. It's so important to understand that. Everybody contributes. And you want to be able to, part of being able to work and do your things too is you got to understand that you're going to make an impact. Like we don't just have a business. We have employees. We have people depend on us. We have customers who, customer service is so important because it can ruin your day. And if it ruins my Mother's Day, it ruins my day. So it's important. Yeah. So whatever you're doing, you have no idea of what kind of impact you're going to have, but you've got to show up. Right. So you have all the tools inside. You don't have to be like everybody else, but you definitely have to show up, do your thing, believe in yourself, and you cannot take it personal. Your parents didn't, they are who they are. Your friends are who they are. People are there's always going to be people that say bad things to you, and there's going to be people that say great things to you. But if you look for that external voice to give you your power, it's not going to happen. You have to find it within. That's like the most important thing.
I love it. You guys are awesome. You really need to like do something with the kids or something. This is what I needed. I didn't do it just for the audience. I did it for me too. But I have two riddles for you guys before I let you go, and then I'll let you enjoy your evening. Okay. I heard this on the radio the other day, and I said, I've got to ask Marisa and Dean this. I thought it was funny. So the first one is what goes up and down but doesn't move?
That goes up and down.
But doesn't move.
Doesn't move.
I don't know. Lately, it's been the market. Market doesn't go there. So he's there on Wall Street, but it doesn't go up and down.
Marisa, do you have an idea?
No, I'm not. Riddles are not my best.
Mine either. It's stairs.
Oh, that's so good. I love that.
I know. I thought it was funny.
It's a good one.
And the second one is, what is something that you use? No, what is something that you have to break first before you use?
Oh, I think I've heard this one. Break before you use.
Before you use. A seal?
An egg.
Yep.
Egg.
Things like I've heard that one before. I had 3, but I can't remember the third one. But thank you guys. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. Guys, you definitely can catch Marisa. I know she's on Facebook and Instagram under Marisa Bartlett. And I don't think Dean's on social media, but that's okay, Dean, because you're not missing anything.
I'm off the grid.
Brittany, I have to say, I love what you're doing. I'm so happy you're doing it.
Yes, girl.
You are.
And you look great.
Glowing.
You look fantastic.
Glowing.
Thank
you are in your element, and
Thank
you are
you.
doing the thing. And I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of all your work. And we were so excited to be here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for saying yes. Dean, you be good tonight. And I'm going to keep up with you guys, Marisa. You know, I'll be.
What does that mean?
But
I'm in marriage.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Keep
All right, girl.
Yeah,
Thank
you keep
so
your
much.
spice going too. I'm very excited for you
very
as
important.
a newlywed and your cameraman back there, wherever he is. Hello, Mr. Brittany.
Mr. Brittany.
He won't show, but thank you. Thank you, guys. I am going to sign out. This is episode number 31 with How We Change and 10 Reasons We Don't. With Marisa Dean. Bye, guys. Love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.